Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our latest episode of Mycotoxin Matters. In today's episode, we are returning to Asia. A few months back, we had Dr. Gazanfar Nasir, who gave us an in-depth look at the ruminant sector in this region and some of the challenges that mycotoxin prevalence can pose to producers there. We're switching species today and are delighted to be joined by Gustavo Ribeiro, who is Alltech's Regional Technical Manager for Monogastrics in Asia Pacific. A native of Portugal, Gustavo graduated with degrees in zootechnical engineering from the University of Trás-os-Montes and Alto Douro in Portugal, and in international livestock production from CAH Valentum University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. In addition to his studies, Gustavo has more than a decade of global industry experience in various capacities, including R&D, marketing, and technical support in monogastric production. He has spent the past 6 years supporting feed and livestock producers in the Asia Pacific region specifically. Gustavo, it's great to have you on the podcast today. Thanks for taking the time to get on.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Martin, and thanks everyone to having me here. It was a very kind introduction and
great.
Ready to go.
We have a lot to get through today. Gustavo will be a happy one, so it's probably good to get started. You've spent 6 years in Asia and the wider Asia Pacific region, Gustavo. I think for listeners, maybe it would be good if you could just give them a bit of an insight into the industry right now there in terms of swine production, poultry production. It's probably been a challenging few years with higher feed costs and so on, but how are producers doing in general, and how are they kind of managing some of those challenges in general across the industry?
Perfect. Thank you. So when we look to the industry structure here in Asia, of course, that will change country by country. But when you look really to the monogastric industry here, is very, very important component in like the agriculture sector is really focused on animal production, especially on pork, poultry, and a little bit less in the extent of the egg production. But if you look structure, and we wanted to try to divide a little bit in categories, and I mentioned as difference across the countries in the region, we are going to see a structure that will consist with small-scale farming, home mixers, commercial scale farms, feed mills that will provide that commercial feed to that commercial farms. But also we have big number of integrations that they will take they will have the commercial scales, they will have their own feed mills, but they will have their processing plants. So overall, it's a very dynamic structure because every region will be a little bit different, but also like taking the opportunity to share some of the latest information and going a little bit to our agri-food report. When we look to the structure here in Asia Pacific, is growing, is moving, and we can see a nice increase in the feed tonnage comparing with the previous year. Not so big increase, but more than 1% when we look to the volume is a big number. And there was especially an increase in the broiler business, in the layer business, that is help that grows. And of course, there are some consumer behaviors, or we were talking, as you mentioned, about the high cost, high raw material price, the production costs increase. We had some challenge with animal disease that changed a little bit the dynamics and the numbers from the Asia Pacific volumes, but I think that all that momentum we are facing pretty fast, and there is a strong optimism to continue to grow, and we will see that the poultry farming will continue to grow, especially here in Southeast Asia, and looking to the overall raw material stabilization. This will help some of the countries to increase their own production. So again, it's really vital that role that the monogastric industry plays here in Asia. So we they want to have more and more the food security, and as the sector is so important, agriculture sector, this will have a huge economic development and will help a lot of the countries to face some of the challenges that they have with importations and with other supply chain that can happen nowadays. And looking to Asia is where we see a huge growth in population, really is changing the market dynamics through all the challenge that I mentioned before. But I think that we are in a very good way, and I think that there is a lot of opportunities for the near future.
Thank you, Gustavo. Yeah, it's good to see, I guess, that despite many of the challenges we do hear about with both disease pressures and cost of raw material pressures, there does seem to be still lots of opportunity across the region, in particular with a growing economy, growing population, and everything that brings. We're on mycotoxin matters today, Gustavo, so maybe we'll focus on that for a bit specifically. And we've just recently published what was the Alltech 2024 Asian Import Risk Analysis. So, some of you may have seen that report or webinar over the past few weeks. So we'll maybe touch on some of that data as well. But in terms of mycotoxins in general, from swine producers or poultry producers' perspective, why are mycotoxins significant to the livestock sector in Asia, Gustavo? And then, secondly, how do we see mycotoxins impacting livestock production in general?
Okay, so let's try to focus a little bit more on the main topic of the mycotoxins, because this will bring a lot of challenge, a lot of impacts, not only on the production but also on the quality of that production. And as I was mentioning, as we are having a rapidly growth and the consumer behavior is changing, the health of the human health is bringing more and more important topic. So we need to make sure that these aspects are not just related to the animals, but also what we are able to eat. So looking to the impacts of the production of the animal production, we are going to see some challenge, especially in some sensitive animals, the reproductive performance or the young animal feed. When we talk about also the volumes that we need to bring to the markets, we need to improve our feed conversion efficiency. So when the animals are having some mycotoxin challenge, this will have a huge impact. And we need to understand that for Asia, we live in a perfect condition of hot temperatures, very humid. So we will have our storage challenge, but one of the biggest important points is also how we are importing the main raw materials. And Asia is moving very fast, it's changing very fast, and we can see from the global reports that Asian buyers will continue to reach records over and over every year. But what is changing is that the country of origin is not only coming from one supplier that export business of corn, for example, to Asia, is not only from United States. We see now a huge expansion also from the corn from Brazil, the corn from other areas. So looking at that, the Asian producers, they need to have a double pay attention, because they need to try to control their mycotoxins that they have in that storage condition, but they also need to understand that they are importing mycotoxins because they are coming together with their main ingredients. So looking to our import report analysis, I think it's very good to understand the different types of mycotoxin profiles that we can see from the different regions, which type of assumptions we can have that this, for example, this corn will have certain levels in the diet, so this will bring some performance reduction, and what are the consequences of having certain level, what this will be related in terms of egg production, in terms of feed conversion, in terms of talking about the swine, if we have some specific mycotoxin, with which kind of impact this can having with a number of piglets in the litter. So more and more information we need to share, this knowledge transfer we need to do for our clients. And Asia, I think that need to be very aware of what is happening in the different types of the world, what type of impact this can concern, because we see that when we do some analysis in the field, I think that we will touch this later on, but we see a lot of the normal mycotoxins that we were expecting to have it here in Asia, but nowadays we see a little bit of different mycotoxin profile, a little bit of different mycotoxins that is not only coming from the storage condition, is also coming from how the crops were raised, what type of impacts they were having, which type of challenge.
Sure, and maybe that's a good lead into just going a little bit deeper in general on the Asian import risk analysis, Gustavo. And for our listeners, that is essentially a consolidation of Alltech's harvest analyses across regions such as Europe, Brazil, the US, and Canada. We've put all of that information into one single report that is designed then to inform livestock or feed producers in Asia in terms of what mycotoxin risk may be present in grains that they would be importing from those specific regions. If we think of the report this year, Gustavo, I think we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. Would there be any specific trends or shifts that you have observed in mycotoxin profiles in the report this year?
What we continues to see is that more than 90% of our samples, they will be contaminated with mycotoxins. So the prevalence of mycotoxins are remaining in all our diets, in most of our ingredients, unfortunately. So we need to really pay attention on the way that we are trying to manage these mycotoxins. We know that we are not going to eradicate them, but we need to understand how we can neutralize them to don't, or mitigate them to don't bring that negative impact to our productions. So looking to our report, I think this is very crucial, especially for Asian producers, because we need to understand that the quality of the raw material that we are buying have very different factors, and climate change was one very important topic that we are having every day. So we are facing also some challenge in our crop production. So different types of the globe, they were having different types of challenge. So when we look a little bit to Europe, they were having some shifts in the weather patterns, that this will have a huge impact not only in the quality of the raw material or the ingredient, but also which type of mycotoxin levels we are going to find and we will see in that region. Comparing to looking to the United States, that also have a different types of impact. So looking to that different dynamics of different things, and looking how the climate change is impacting, when we are analyzing and when we are trying to buy raw materials, we are going to buy from different suppliers. So we need to make sure that our quality control is is on place. The best practices are on place, but we need also to understand what are the mycotoxin levels that were in that harvest process. And I think it's very clear looking to our report how different regions they will have different types of mycotoxin profiles. What are the average of that mycotoxins, what are the highest levels or the lowest levels, and what are the impacts that we can have in our animals. So for example, looking at corn, you will get information or insights, or how is the mycotoxin profile from Europe, how is the mycotoxin profile from United States and from Brazil, and different types of mycotoxin profile, which type of impact they will bring. I think we have a fantastic way of explaining, because we are giving the REQ number. That is a very useful number to the clients to understand, because if you just tell to the client that 10% is high risk or 20% is low risk and moderate risk, the interpretation of them will be a little bit different from client to client. When you are trying to educate and give a one number, they will always have a reference if was higher or below from the previous one. So later on they can understand a little bit better what are they seeing in their farms, because they will see some signs of mycotoxin contamination. And this is also, we need to educate all the producers what are the first signs, so what type of measurements we can take. But looking to the report and getting that insights, we are also able to be more efficient in our feed formulations, because we will be able to identify what are the risk ingredients for the specific stage of the animals. So when we are formulating the diets, we can try to manage that risk. For example, if we know that the corn from Brazil is a high potential risk for reproduction animals or for young animals, we will try to use that corn more for the fattening animals, for less sensitive animals. As well, when we talk about broiler production, the young animal feed, the first 7 days, we need to be very crucial with the quality of that feed, of that ingredients, because mycotoxins is not only a number that is coming in their raw material, will be also the consequences that will bring to all the animal performance. So we will start to see more gut health challenge. We are going to see much more reduction in animal performance, and we need to try to mitigate all of that.
Gustavo, what I think you've just talked about there just demonstrates, I guess, the power of data when it comes to managing the mycotoxin risk. As a company, I guess we are building a greater picture with the data that we are capturing across the globe, and then building that into programs like REQ, or risk equivalent quantity, which is essentially a singular metric that captures what is the risk attached to multiple mycotoxins in feed or raw material samples. So again, as an industry, as we're building more and more data, it is certainly helping to inform how we develop then the management strategies related to, I guess, the purchasing of grain, and then the formulation of, you say, of diet as well. So some exciting work ongoing in that area. Maybe that is where we would finish up then today, Gustavo. We've talked again a lot about the prevalence of mycotoxins and then some of the impacts on the animals. But I guess just wrapping up, you work a lot on the ground with feed and livestock producers across Asia Pacific. What are some of the strategies that producers there are using to manage mycotoxin risks? Be it from the procurement of grains, the testing of grains, and then I guess some of the nutritional solutions that we would look to include in animal diets as well. It'd be good to just give a flavor for our listeners of some of the strategies that are in place across the region.
Perfect. So of course, that one of the first step is we need to get more and more education. We need to understand more and more what are the real information or what is really happening. So data is completely crucial. We need to continue to analyze, to collect samples. Not is not a job that we are going for 1 week and then we will get conclusions for what will happen all over the year. So I think that we need to have, of course, not really trying to focus in a little bit of a different way, but I hope that all the producers will have the quality control, will have the purchase this in place. Just trying to focus more on managing the mycotoxins. I think that, as I mentioned, data is crucial. We need to try to identify the risk. We need to see how can we utilize the tools that we have, and we have different types of tools. We can use our rapid test in front of the gate of your feed mill. So every supplier that comes, you just do samples of the mycotoxins to understand and to try to see some, for example, silo management. But you need to get that rapid test to have that information. So we will be able to analyze the main 6 mycotoxins in a very fast way. So in less than 10-15 minutes, you will get the report. When you are talking with us and we are supporting with that type of service, this can be connected to your mobile phone or to your mobile device, and immediately you will get a report. And that report is crucial because it's not only telling you the number that you will see of the mycotoxins, will explain you a little bit what are the negative impacts, what are the different consequences of using that type of ingredient in different animals. Or you can select it when you are looking in the mobile phone. So later on, what this will help you is to have a better insight of your raw material or of your quality. And when we know that, we have a good information about feed ingredients. We can also use our Alltech 37 Plus, that is a lab analysis that we can conduct. That this will bring you a very robust report with more than 60 different mycotoxins analyzed. So then you will see how is the good composition or quality of your final feed, and you will see if you have any contamination during the silo management, any in the processing plant, and so on. Of course, that when you are also talking in a very hot and humid condition, storage is crucial. So we need to make sure that we are really controlling all the molds that can happen, because we don't want to bring more conditions to the mycotoxins to develop or to multiply. When we identify and we know the risk that we are having, we need to quantify that risk. And when you look to that report and also connect it to our portal, you will get the Alltech Protect. This Alltech Protect is showing you the REQ number that will quantify that risk that you are having. How many eggs you are going to reduce by using certain mycotoxin contamination in your diet. How much FCR you are going to lose in your broiler production or in your swine production. Having that, knowing what you can see it in the market or what we can see it with your animals, we need to know how to mitigate that and which type of solution or approach we need to have to try to mitigate that. Do we need to use a more premium and broad spectrum product, or we can use a less robust premium product, more commercial, because we see that the mycotoxin profile is not so challenging for that animal. So these are the 3 steps that I think that should be crucial to everyone. Identify the risk, quantify the risk, and then let's mitigate the risk. I think that we have solutions in place here in Asia. We can help you to manage the mycotoxins. I think that if you need any additional support, I think that any sales representative can help you with that. But what is important as well is also all the information that is available online, and one of that is our report for the import raw materials to Asia. So please have a look at that. I really encourage to everyone to stay tuned.
Thank you, Gustavo. And I guess I really like the summary around identify, quantify, and mitigate. And I think it's a message that can not only apply to Asia Pacific, but it's something we would be encouraging livestock and feed producers to implement and globally when they're thinking about managing mycotoxins. It's been great to have you on today, Gustavo, and thank you again for sharing your vast levels of knowledge and experience. During the podcast, we did reference various reports, such as the Asian import analysis and the recently released Alltech's Agri-Food Outlook. If you'd like to read more on these topics, we should be able to include the download links in the show notes for the podcast. And again, thank you for listening to Mycotoxin Matters, and we look forward to you being with us again for the next episode.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening today and look forward to you joining us next time on the Mycotoxin Matters podcast. For more information on the topics discussed, please visit knowmycotoxins.com. That's KNOW mycotoxins.com.